It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. We've assembled a team of car freaks at Test Miles, and let's introduce the team for this morning's show. Genia, our intern, Sean Walker, our car and cat lover, and, of course, the show's daddy, Brad Boyer. Everybody have a good week?
Fantastic. What a glorious morning. Drove in 6:30 this morning. Sun was just coming over Mount Hood. It was glorious.
The only thing that was wrong is it wasn't 95 degrees.
It was 95 in my car.
Yeah, but it has to be, doesn't it, because of the temperatures.
Butt warmers, heated steering wheel.
Little ice, little snow on the road that's been going on. A lot of challenging driving conditions. Watching some news footage of people trying to navigate the ice this week was very
So the greatest driving day in Portland in the last 10 years was Snowmageddon Day the other day. Nobody on the road. Everybody stayed home.
It's
the 10 flakes that hit the ground?
It's the ice at high elevations. My dad lives up on Mount Scott, and it definitely was nice and icy on Mount Scott. All right, we're going to start the show a little differently this week. We're going to talk about the cars that we've been driving and doing our vehicle review portion of the show. So we'll start off. I have been in the Volvo S60. This is a four-door luxury sedan, strong, a turbocharged engine. Volvo, one of the first companies to start regularly producing vehicles that have a turbocharger and a supercharger on the same vehicle. The bad things about this car, I would say one of them is the price. When you start to get the car nicely equipped, it starts to become very expensive for what you get. It's a smaller than average back seat, less efficient engines. They're only going to four-wheel drives. Volvo is only going to four-cylinder engines. Volvo lost the ability to have six-cylinder engines initially a year ago, I think because the deal with Ford came to an end. And so they are only able to produce four-cylinder engines in their factory in Sweden. They are looking at doing six-cylinder engine manufacturing as well. But they've done some great jobs with the four-cylinder engines, a 2-liter turbo, a 2.5-liter with a turbo and a supercharger, and then a 3-liter as well. Also, the horsepower of these vehicles ranges from 240 all the way up to 325. Very sporty drive, 8-speed transmission, front wheel or all-wheel drive. Miles per gallon ranges from around 29 to 35 on the highway, depending on what you get. And its competition for this Volvo is the Audi A4, the BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, Cadillac ATS, and Kia Cadenza. Trim levels on them, they stayed with the trim levels which originally were significant to the engine size. The T5, the T5 Drive E, which is the E-Drive, or Drive E is what Volvo calls their ecological engine, as it were. They have the T6 Drive and the T6R design, and the Polestar, of course. LED lights, kind of nice in it. A lot of tech in Volvos, including the crash mitigation systems that prevent you from hitting cyclists or other vehicles, pedestrian safe, city safe, and starting price $33,300. Also been driving the 2015 Honda CR-V, and this is the four-door crossover from Honda. Exceptional fuel economy. It was Motor Trend's truck of the year this year, or their SUV of the year, I think, the SUV of the year. Passenger and cargo room are plenty. Nifty self-folding rear seats, user-friendly controls, appealing tech. However, I have had this problem a couple of times in Honda vehicles, where the navigation system has a mind of its own, and it sometimes transfers itself from mode to mode without me touching the screen. So maybe a few little problems in the CR-V as it first comes out. No real bad sides to this vehicle unless you don't like CVT transmission. Then there's a huge bad side to it. A lot of Americans still having a hard time getting to grips with CVT transmissions. 2.4-liter four-cylinder, 185 horsepower. Again, all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. 29 miles a gallon combined, which is 27 city, 34 highway. Competition, Ford Escape, Nissan Rogue, the Mazda CX-5, the VW Touareg, Toyota RAV4, the Subaru XV Crosstrek. Comes in 4 different trim levels, and about $23,320 starting price for that. Sean, what have you been driving this week?
I've also been driving a Volvo, the XC60, and it's a really nice vehicle. I enjoyed it. The only bad thing I say about the XC60 is the center stack in there. I don't like how plain and how everything's crammed in there. I feel like it's a little hard to find the buttons, where you and me were talking about it. You liked it. I'm not a fan of the way they have the center stack laid out. Comfortable vehicle, very safe. I mean, you tried to run me over a few times with it, with the pedestrian safe. And
Sadly,
everything.
I failed.
Yes. But, we've tried it a bunch of times with Volvo, so they are a very safe car. If you're looking for safety, Volvo is. It's a very comfortable ride. It had the 3-liter twin-turbo inline 6-cylinder, 8-speed automatic transmission, does come in front-wheel and all-wheel drive, gets 1724 miles to the gallon. The only the competitors it has is Audi Q5, BMW X3, Porsche Macan, Lexus NX, and Acura RDX. And I believe it competes with all those. It's luxury, it's nice. Price isn't too bad on it. It's $33,000 compared to some of those.
To me, Volvo, this car just makes it into the luxury category. It's kind of on the
tips of it, because it doesn't feel super luxury. But
no, it's this very Swedish, very plain, minimalistic insides, interior, very small, very
But
thin.
I believe it's comfortable. I enjoyed driving it for when I had it. It's a nice vehicle.
And
it's just
Volvo famous for their seats comfort as well.
Yeah, it's one of those vehicles that doesn't excite me, but I enjoy owning.
All right, good. Well done, Sean. Oh, starting price for that?
$33,750.
All right, Brad, what do you got?
I had the great pleasure of getting in the 2015 Hyundai Genesis. So now Hyundai cars have a strong connection with the city of Portland, as it's been the port of entry for cars since the XL, kind of been the butt of the jokes, but it's arrived since in stateside 1986. And the Korean manufacturer introduced the first XL at Good Morning America at the old Red Lion on 4th and Lincoln back in 86. It was first sold through here, and yes, I was there, Nick. I knew that was the question.
Of course, it was
coming.
only the 80s, Brad.
Yes, exactly.
If it was 1966, you'd have probably been there too. Right?
So, but it did set records. So far at the Port of Portland, they've rolled off, back in 2013, the 2 millionth Hyundai has rolled through Terminal 6. So there's this strong connection here. And in the early days, the XL was, awarded all kinds of awards early on because of its value, but then at poor quality, it became the butt of jokes. And over the past years, Hyundai has really tried to work on their quality, and it's just been amazing. So like back in, 2006, it was named J.D. Power's the top 3 quality. So that brings us today, where Hyundai's going after kind of the big boys with BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Audi with its new Aquas and Genesis. So the first thing I noticed when I went out to get into the Genesis, which competes with like the 5 Series, is really how beautiful the lines are. And it also features this unique branding, and they've done something interesting where it has its own badge, which is not a Hyundai logo. It looks almost more like an Aston Martin logo. And it differentiates it, but then when you get inside is where I really noticed it. It's the quality and the fit and everything, and it's just pleasantly surprised. I thought it was mid-40s. Its base price is $38,900, and that was for a really nicely loaded V6. It's a 3.8-liter V6 with the 8-speed automatic transmission. Gets an average of 22 miles per gallon, and it gets to use regular gas, so that's even a better value. And but I think my favorite feature on this car was the illuminated Genesis logo. As you come home at night and it's dark, you open the door and there's the logo illuminated down onto the sidewalk. It's just really a cool feature. But I think the only bad side of this is that I had to give it up. I was sold on this thing for $38,900. I guess at that early base stages, it's going to compete against the Chrysler 300 and some of those vehicles, but it really can compete strongly with the 5 Series, and it's $10,000, $15,000 less.
Yeah, I think depending on how much performance you want, I think it's definitely a brilliant car. And Sean's going to be driving one over Thanksgiving.
That's what we talked about, and with the fully loaded all-wheel drive at about $60,000, now you have some questions on, are you going to spend $60,000 and pull up Del Gaucho and pull up in your Genesis, or are you going to pull up in a BMW or a Mercedes?
Tough call.
It is.
It's what you like and what you enjoy. Jenya, have you been driving cars and video games this week?
I have. This week I've been driving the Mercedes G65 AMG. And I'll have to say AMG cars are very wild. They've got humongous engines. They're just so crazy. They want to kill you. But because the G65 has all-wheel drive, it doesn't seem like it wants to kill you as much as like an SLS or a C65.
I don't think it has the thought pattern of wanting to do those things. You have to be more.
Is that on the Mercedes website that I can find it? The AMG products want to kill you?
No, I think that's just Jenya's interpretation, a 13-year-old's interpretation of a video game.
But it's a really fun car. It's got a gigantic engine. It's pretty fast. It's a cool car, too.
Now, did you win your races with it?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, and this is in what game?
Forza Horizon 2.
Ah, there you go.
But it does cost about 275,000 credits in the game.
Oh, well, 3 years' time, you might be able to drive a real one. if you can get your dad to get the insurance. All right, you're listening to Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL. Coming up in the next two breaks, we'll be taking a look at the LA Auto Show. We've got two special guests in studio who will be able to tell us some of the cars that we are going to see, some of the cars we may see, and some of the cars that we hope to see. Our review of the LA Auto Show, which starts next week, coming up on Test Miles, listening to FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
If you are unfamiliar with our Project Discovery, we are creating a SEMA-style car. We've taken a 2002 Land Rover Discovery, and we are making it into a bastion of luxury car transportation for dogs. If you want to get involved, contact us through the website, testmiles.com. Here's a fun fact for you, and very debatable fact. The largest engine being mass-produced in a production car is the 8.4-liter Viper V10 engine. And we've had lots of debate about this. It is actually, if you look at mass-produced, meaning that it has machinery produced other than hand-produced. And so I think the fact is correct. I did double-check it at about 5 different places. 8.4-liter V10, of course, there are bigger engines out there, lots of them, but they tend to be handmade. So the Viper being the largest mass-produced engine at 8.4 liters. The LA Auto Show Press Week starts Monday with some exclusive parties and reveals. The official press preview begins Wednesday morning. Now, to navigate our way through this maze of what we will maybe see, we could see, which may be revealed, we never know until the actual silks come off the cars. We have two automotive guests joining us in the Test Miles studio. Bengt Halverson is deputy editor of High Gear Media. They have several household-name websites. Bengt oversees reviews, reports on consumer affairs, safety, energy, environmental issues, in-car technology. He is a native of Michigan. He started his career at Car and Driver while still attending the University of Michigan. And if you've read the Alaska Air magazine automotive segment, you'll have seen Bengt's writing in there. Also joining us in the studio is Joel Feder. Joel oversees High Gear Media's social media channels. He also reports the latest automotive news. He's from Minnesota. We don't hold that against him. He has a marketing degree from Drake University. Joel is a car critic and was one in college. He started his own car blog in 2009. He's a new dad and a proud owner of a BMW M5. I'm not sure which he loves the most, his car or his child. I think they probably sit equally on his list. And his wife will now say, you better say your child, else I'll kick you in the shins, Joel. We call him the cheerleading squad because he is the most enthusiastic person I know. So, gentlemen, what are the websites of High Gear Media?
We have the Car Connection, which is essentially the place to go if you're shopping for a new car. It lets you sort out, based on your shopping priorities. You can zero in on whatever your priorities are and figure out essentially what you should be cross-shopping. We have Motor Authority, which is the place to go if you are a car enthusiast. If you're already keyed in and if you have the bug, then you go to Motor Authority and you can catch up on the latest on whatever cars you're especially enthusiastic about, or just get all the latest car news rounded up. at one go-to place. Green Car Reports, if you are a little bit of a geek and you're into the environmental, the green, the tech side of cars, and you kind of want think a little bit more, and you maybe think a little bit more in the future or want to focus on energy and efficiency, go to Green Car Reports.
And I know Green Car Reports is often used in a lot of ads. When you see ads for different car companies, they say, chosen by Green Car Report as blah, blah, blah.
We have, I really credit Green Car Reports editor John Volker for we've just in the course of a few years built a very strong green car site. I would say the top green car site, one of the top 3 green car sites by any assessment in the country. And it is the place to go if you want some of the breaking news regarding green cars and some of the best analysis out there.
And I would absolutely agree with you. All right, we got a lot of cars to navigate through of some things that we might see. I gave you guys a list of what I know in alphabetical order, but we don't have to stick to that necessarily. Talk to me about Joel, talk to me about what you're looking forward to most.
You know, I mean, I think Banked and I were just talking about this before we came on the show together, and we were prepping for this. And the show feels a lot like the new and improved show. There's not a ton of, oh my God, this is a brand new car, that's a brand new platform, but there's a lot of facelifts, a lot of refreshes, a lot of updates, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes for a different show and a different feeling. But there are a couple all-new cars that we're very excited about that have been announced. One of those is obviously the Cadillac ATS-V, and that's going to be shown in coupe form. We've had a few teaser images of that. There's been a few leaks on the internet about that. That's going to go up against the BMW M4. We know it's going to have a twin turbocharged V6. It's going to have about 440, 450, 420. Nothing's confirmed, but there's been leaks. Horsepower.
No, the Cadillac showed I think they had a Facebook video that they put up of the sound, which was basically a view from the rear of the car and was more auditory than it was visual, listening to what the exhaust sound would be.
And that's how we confirmed it was not going to be a supercharged V8. It was going to be a twin turbocharged V6. And that was our. We thought it was going to be that, but that was our confirmation for sure. Probably going to be the latest in its class. Going to have a 6-speed manual. Probably a 6-speed automatic. 8-speed automatic's not out of the question. Again, nothing's confirmed yet, but it's going to be a pretty cool car and something that America can be proud of to compete against the Germans for sure.
All right, so what else are we looking at?
Well, Monday, tomorrow, Ford is revealing something. They won't confirm what it is yet. They've done a couple teasers. It's going to be a performance car. All indications are saying it's going to be the new Shelby GT350. It's going to be unveiled at the Shelby Museum. So, in my mind, there's only 2 routes it's going to go. It's either a new Shelby GT350 race car, or it's going to be actually the Shelby GT350 for consumers. I'm leaning towards the consumer side. It could be both. It could go either way. Teasers have confirmed carbon fiber in the car. It's going to be a widened track from the current Mustang GT. It's going to be lighter. It's going to have performance suspension, brakes. They're talking about a history of racing. So, it's clearly going to be a track car, not necessarily like GT500 of a brute. There's rumors of a 5.2 flat crank V8, 500 and some horsepower. It's going to be pretty interesting, especially talking against the ATS-V, M4. These are cars that this car could theoretically compete against.
All right, so lots to look forward to. When we come back, we'll go through some more of the cars. You're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101. The CBS News is next.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with TestMiles.com.
Bank and Joel are here from High Gear Media, from Car Connections, Green Car Report, and Motor Authority. We're going through what cars we may see on Test Miles this morning at the LA Auto Show, which gears up tomorrow morning with some early reveals. So, Bank, what's on your timetable?
Well, it's going to be an interesting show, as Joel was saying. It's kind of the year of new and improved at the LA show, and the LA show has traditionally been a show where we see some especially interesting, new concepts or sports cars, and there will be some concepts and there will be some sports cars. We're hoping for some surprises, maybe some technology-oriented surprises. There's a big push on the green side toward fuel cells this year, so don't be surprised if there's something like that in the pipeline. Otherwise, production cars, possibly the biggest volume production car that's going to make its debut at the LA show is the Honda HR-V. That's kind of a smaller sibling to the CR-V. So CR-V, really hot-selling vehicle, good for families within reason. It's a crossover, so we're talking a car that's just a little bit bigger than the Honda Fit on the outside, but a little bit higher seating position, more versatility and utility. Fuel economy definitely well in the 30s. It should be pretty big seller. Then
this small SUV, there's coming like the Jeep Renegade all the way through. Everyone's doing these very, very small sort of off-roady SUV CUVs. So this is just Honda's version. It's kind of an upscaling of the Fit, something like the Nissan Juke, something in that sort of scale.
Exactly, and we're not talking rugged cues. We're not talking all off-road ability. We're talking just a somewhat higher seating position, and it's one of the hottest growing segments of the vehicle market right now. You've got to get a vehicle in this segment to be a full line maker, and we're going to see that in the next year or two, virtually, with the Chevy Trax, that brings us to one of the other vehicles that's going to make its debut at the LA show, the Mazda CX-3. It's only going to be shown at LA as a global debut, a concept,
right, yeah.
But it's a thinly veiled concept. So maybe, this next summer we'll see a production model that's looks almost exactly like that concept. And based on Mazda's recent vehicles, it's going to be good looking. They've pretty much nailed it with respect to design on all of their recent introductions.
Now, one of the things I really like the idea of, I'm always looking for that sort of morning show story, was Mitsubishi's new unveiling, which is going to be their plug-in hybrid car. The thing I love about this vehicle is they've designed it so if your power goes out in your house, you can plug it into your house. It will power your house up for up to 10 days because similar to the Volt, it has a generator on board which generates the electric power for the engine, so it'll do the same for your home. So I was going to buy a gas generator for my home. No longer need to do that. All I need to do is go and buy the Mitsubishi and then plug it into the house, and then I've got something that'll keep my power on for the whole winter. So I kind of like that idea. What else you got?
We've got the all-new Volvo XC90 introduced a few months ago internationally. It was introduced in Sweden and then at the Paris Auto Show. We've got its U.S. debut at L.A. It is an entirely new vehicle. It was engineered from scratch in Sweden. What makes it especially noteworthy is that Volvo is owned by a Chinese company now. And so Volvo had to start from scratch and engineer a new platform, a scalable product architecture platform, SPA, and all of its upcoming vehicles are going to be built on this architecture. But the XC90, the large crossover, is first. It is a beautiful vehicle. It uses those new engines that you were talking about a little while ago, and it's going to go on sale next summer.
Now, one other thing I looked at is they're talking about building an S80 off of this platform, but they're saying that may be built in China. So it's interesting where production is.
And there's some misinformation going around. Volvo has said that they'll build a lot of vehicles in China. None of those Chinese vehicles will come to the U.S. or Europe.
Right.
Except for the S60 long wheelbase.
Perhaps. Yeah.
They don't want to confirm that won't come, because I think if they feel that will be a good, and I kind of think that they're thinking if they have to kill the S80 before the S90 replacement can come, they think that a long wheelbase S60 could suffice to fill that gap for a little while.
I think there's a lot of unknowns there yet too, but they're definitely trying to work out, since their deal with Ford kind of chugs to an end this year, how they're going to do their production.
Yeah, labor issues are always a thing too.
Sweden, very strong labor force in Sweden. All right, Joel, you're looking forward to any of there seems to be quite a few interesting sports cars coming. Jaguar's talking about a manual in their F-Type. They're also talking about all-wheel drive in their F-Type. There's the Land Rover Discovery. What gets you excited?
You know, and you're going to think this is a little weird, but I am really excited about the Carrera GTS. That's the first public showing debut of that car for consumers and press that haven't driven it, actually, the press drive. And that I'm a big Carrera fan, so that's really cool to me. Also, the Cayenne GTS is a family car that I like, and as a dad. And it has a facelift, so that's going to be at the show. And this is going back to what we said earlier. There's a lot of facelifts coming, a lot of refreshes. There's also the Jaguar F-Type with all-wheel drive, which would be a really big concern for Porsche because that was the thing in northeastern U.S. and the Midwest. If you drive your Porsche year-round, you can get a Carrera 4, Turbo, whatever with all-wheel drive. Jaguar F-Type, which is gorgeous and amazing looking, only came rear-wheel drive. All-wheel drive should really be a cause to pause for Porsche.
And I think especially above the Mason-Dixon line where snow is an issue, these cars are going to be big for them.
And I think that I think that you are right on the manual. They've confirmed a manual transmission is coming. I don't think that's going to be at LA. I think that they're kind of doing we're going to give you one thing. It's a breadcrumb thing. We're going to give you one thing now, and then because they can keep milking this, we're going to update the F-Type at every different auto show.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is the F-Type really is, the XE, which is they're putting their stake in a year and a half away. So the F-Type is their bridge between that. What about this new Land Rover Discovery Sport? So we saw the concept in New York. We've seen the unveiling in Europe at Paris, and now coming to the US, and they will be dumping a lot more information about that car. And I know that the press drive for this is in January.
I think you're going to the press drive, or Banks might be going to the press drive. I'm not sure yet, but I am going to see the actual unveil on Tuesday night in LA.
I'll see you there.
I'll see you there, Nick. You and I can hang out and talk Discovery Sport. But it looks fantastic in pictures. I haven't seen it in person, obviously. It looks good on paper. I think that it'll be a real challenger to the competition in the marketplace. But I think that we have to drive it before we can actually comment more on what it's going to be like.
If you guys, because we're running out of time in this segment, pick one car that you're the most excited about. Silence. Fine. I'm excited about all of them.
As far as curiosities go, I'm really interested to see. You might remember Henrik Fisker, who came up with, who had a company a few years ago called Fisker.
Right.
They had a car called the Fisker Karma.
Right.
Really innovative, although poorly executed, plug-in extended range plug-in hybrid. He's now involved with Galpin Motorsports, and they have scheduled a normal full automaker slot during the auto show to introduce what they've called the ultimate muscle car.
It's the Chinese company that owns them. I thought they talked about launching something in
That's
LA.
Completely different.
Yeah, and Fisker used to be a designer for BMW. He's a very good, very gifted designer. And so this could be one of the show's surprises.
So
maybe.
The car he's talking about is going to be a carbon. It should be a carbon fiber rebodied Mustang. A new Mustang that's carbon fiber rebodied.
Oh, interesting. And it's mass produced?
Whether it might be that in production, we're not sure.
Produced.
Yeah.
I mean.
All right. So some special car. What else?
Otherwise, we're just going to see a lot of refreshes. This is going to be the year. I looked at some of these refreshes that we're expecting, and this is going to be the year of slap some new sheet metal on it and give it a new infotainment system.
Right.
Infotainment systems have moved at such a faster rate than vehicle development cadences, and so we're seeing, you get an all-new vehicle every 5 or 6 years. You get an all-new infotainment system with completely different connectivity technology
and now with Apple
capacitive
CarPlay
screens and Apple CarPlay and
Android Auto
exactly.
and BlueLink
and so that's moving at a cadence that's every 2 or 3 years. And so what we're seeing with these refreshes at the LA show, we're going to see all these models with, yes, there's some new sheet metal, yes, there's some new trim, but what's most important perhaps is that what's inside the car and on the dash, it's finally been brought up to date.
Banked and Joel, we'll come back with our news quiz in the next segment, and if we have time, we'll list off some of the other cars that we're going to see at the LA International Auto Show starting next week. You're listening to FM News 101 KXL. This is Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
Miles on FM News 101.
We got a few minutes before the top of the hour and the news to go over our news quiz this morning. This is where we get to ask the team questions, ready with their buzzers, and see how much they've been following in the news. Okay, guys, first question. Who ranked the highest in customer satisfaction by when J.D. Power and Associates did their recent survey? Genya.
That would be Mercedes-Benz, who won their highest customer satisfaction. They had now J.D. Power. This year they had 30,000 consumers who bought or leased new vehicles in April or May participate in this survey, and Mercedes won by 761 points on a scale of 1,000.
Which is not unusual because they tend to win. They win in customer satisfaction a lot of
Which
times.
is
Well, because they treat their customers a whole lot different than a normal dealership.
Right.
You go in, you get treated like royalty. So
Yeah, but back in 2003, they were low on the JD Power, on their on rankings.
So good for them. They've reformed. That's what you're telling me. They've reformed. All right. Next question. Which CEO declined to accept a national award? Brad.
That is General Motors CEO Mary Barra, and it was it's sort of not fair in a way because she's coming in. It was the Katharine Graham Living Legacy Award, so a lot of this has to do with the airbag recalls and ignition switch recalls and the recalls and the recalls of the recall. But she's come in to try and salvage the situation. But the outcry was that you can't be accepting awards and theoretically be killing people at the same time.
Right. Well, that hasn't been proven yet. Let's just say
theoretically.
Allegedly.
That was the word I was looking for.
All right, got time for one more question. What manufacturer could lose up to $100,000 if they build what kind of car? Is it $100 million or $100,000? Sean.
it's 100,000.
100,000.
But basically, Toyota could lose 100,000, and it's euros on every hydrogen car they produce. It's just the cost for them to build them versus trying to sell them. They can lose 50 to 100,000, which is a lot more than Fiat loses $14,000 on every Fiat 500L or not LE they make. It's just they have to get fuel economy cars out there to the public and to meet standards. So
CAFE standards. And again, these numbers are all conceptual numbers that some analyst has dreamed up, and we're never quite sure because the company will never tell us. All right, let's jump back. Let's just jump back a little bit to the LA Auto Show. I'm going to read off some of the cars, and we'll end the show on talking about that show a little bit. So here are the list of cars that we've managed to pull together that will be unveiled. The facelift Acura ILX. Also, Audi will show off the A6, A7, and the S6, S7, which will get some kind of facelift. Audi's Q3 facelift, as well as their R8, and the TT and TTS will be released as well. BMW are going to come up with an X5M and a 2 Series convertible, an X6M. Cadillac, Joel mentioned, has the ATS V Coupe and the ATS VR, supposedly. There's an ELR facelift, an unknown Chevy product, Chrysler 300 facelift, a Fiat 500X, which is the U.S. debut, along with the new Ford Explorer, that mystery Mustang, which will probably be at the Shelby, maybe the GT350, the HR-V from Honda, Hyundai's Accent facelift, the Hyundai Santa Fe facelift, the F-Type is going to get all-wheel drive and possibly a manual, Kia Sorento, Mazda 6 facelift, CX-5 facelift, the new CX-3 concept, the Maybach coming back from Mercedes, and also maybe another Mercedes. Lots of Porsches to be announced, and some new Toyotas and VWs as well. All right, Sean, do you have the deal of the week this week?
I don't. I thought you did.
Oh, well, if you go to Freeman Motors...
I'm posting it.
Let me just see if I can pull up. Oli had done the deal of the week, but he wasn't here this week. Freeman Motors have lots of interesting cars available, and they have in there, I think, a $32,000 Mercedes ML, which looked like it was one of the best cars we could find as deal of the week this week. It is the GLK. It's a black-on-black vehicle, a 2014, and has heated seats. And that is our deal of the week. It's on our Facebook page. Have you got any parties planned, Joel and Banks, to go to in LA?
I will be hanging out with you, Nick, on Tuesday night
BMW,
at the BMW Land Rover.
I'm going to BMW.
I'm going to both.
Mazda, Audi, Hyundai. We're going to have a really
Do you
good
guys
party
determine
week.
which car launch you go to based on the food and who
Nick
serves the
does.
best party?
Absolutely not. We are, all three of us are
Nick determines on how much shrimp there's going to be at each party.
credible auto journalists. You're listening to Test Miles and FM News 101. Thanks so much to Bankton Joel from High Gear Media. Go to Green Car Reports and Car Connection and Motor Authority, which is their other website. Thanks to the rest of the team. We'll see you next week.